Hello, my peeps, and welcome back to Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves. Yeah, that one was not nearly as melodic as the last one. Well, either way, I am still your host, Ike, and before I try any more dangerous, songified intros, I'd like to just take a moment and say thanks for being here and giving this pod a listen. It means a lot to me that you chose to use your precious time and give me and my guest your ears. Now, if after all this fantastique, you still have the wherewithal, it'd be really cool if you shared this with someone who you think would like it, or just subscribe yourself if you already haven't. That'd mean a lot. And if you want to tell me what parts of the show you were passionate about, peeved you off, or just say hi, you can always reach me on Twitter at LikeIkes and via email, passionandpeevespodcast@gmail.com. So, this week I will, as you are getting this, as you are listening to this in your earballs, I will be stressing out, balls to the wall, preparing for Pro Tour Seattle up in Seattle. Thankfully, I will be able to actually attend on time, assuming after I post this that I don't wake up sick. Last 3 days, I have been recovering from a student-given illness. Thanks! I really wish that it's because they wanted to learn. It's because they wanted to hang out with their friends and other people be damned. Anyway, recovered all the same. I mostly have. Thank goodness. I am recording this on the 20th of April. 420! Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so I have been testing a lot and will continue testing days after this gets released. It has been a lot of fun, a lot of manic, and a lot of people. Our team is a lot bigger this go round, which most people would assume to be good, and there are good aspects to it, but there's also a lot of noise, as they would say in a lot of industries, which has been problematic for the most part, but you know, more information all the same, I guess. Either which way, it's been a lot of fun, and even though I won't be prepared as I would like to be, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to try my best. So, wish me luck. Speaking of things that I could use luck in, even though I just asked you for magic and I got it from the universe in getting better in pretty quick turnaround, back out in the dating scene. Been having really fun conversations, quick interactions. It's been very interesting. I've noticed some changes in myself, some changes in the dating scene, so to speak. One of them is that people are fine just ghosting you, which not awesome, but also kind of getting used to it, getting accustomed to the sting. Also, I've run into LA and I kind of appreciate this, and I finally have gotten around to be able to do it myself, is just realizing when, I don't want to say you're not right for the other person, but you know, it's the odds, when the odds change, when the tides turn, instead of trying to fight it, just be like, oh yeah, no, this isn't, you know, not that this person's bad or that they're, you know, they wouldn't do okay, but you know, this isn't high school anymore. I'm 36 years old. I'm turning 37 this year. It's okay early on to have things be going fine, you know, a 6.5, maybe even 7. But if there's some areas where it's like, that person's not going to change, to just, you know, shake their hand, tip the hat, and be like, nah, best of luck though. You know, nothing wrong with you. You're not bad. Just, it's not, you know, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I need. This isn't, I don't think this will work, which whatever, what have you. And I had one of them happen in like record time today. Matched with somebody, talked very rapidly, got a lot of intel, and nothing bad was exchanged as far as I can tell. And within 2 hours went from greetings, knowing each other's life story, to, nah, I don't think this will work. And she tipped her hat and went on her merry way, which impressive. Didn't see it that way, but you know, gotta respect it. Had one where I tipped the hat, which was a new first step for me, and very proud that I have the the kind of maturity, the mental acumen or what have you to do so. And, we were going along having a fine enough conversation. There were some things I was like, maybe, probably not, though. And then I said a joke that, looking back, I think it's fine. She had listed her profession, and the title made me, giggle a little bit. And I kind of played a little fun with it and explained myself, and she didn't respond. I went, oh, was that not a joke of your peculiar liking, or you've been busy at work? And she responded, nah, that joke is kind of ick for me. I thought about it. Like, nah, that's the kind of joke I make all the time. And that doesn't mean that it's, she's wrong and I'm right, or even vice versa. It just means we're coming at it from two different areas. And, see you around. Best of luck. And just kind of, we went our own separate ways. There was no animosity. It was like, you know what? Totally fine. Best of luck in the rest. Hope you find what you're looking for. Assalamu alaikum. And it was kind of awesome. In the past, I would have, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, or, fucking get over yourself. One of the two. But instead, to finally see it differently. Maybe a bunch of you have been there for a decade and I'm just now catching up. Either way, I'm here, fam. But it was really cool for me, and not to be sad about it. So, yeah. Development. Whoop, whoop. Anywho, speaking of developments, he's here. He's finally, come on! The long-awaited other half of Patrick Sullivan. It's the one and only CEDRIC PHILLIPS. After years of playing message tag and trying to find the right date for this all-around globetrotter, finally got him on. We finally found the time, and what a time it was. I really hope you enjoyed this podcast and this episode and this interview as much as I did finally making it happen. Thank you so much, CEDRIC, for coming on. Y'all, please enjoy. Folks, it's finally happening. After 3 long years, today I bring you the Cleveland Cavaliers' biggest fan, a Delta million miler, and the man with the most magical cartwheel Twitch has ever seen. It's the one, the only, CEDRIC PHILLIPS!
That is quite the introduction, boy.
Well, for wow. Quite the guest, I am happy to give it.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for having me. I was not expecting that, that's for sure.
Well, you're welcome to it. And just like we are welcome to have you, but we need to know what you brought with you. CEDRIC, my friend, what is your passion that you have brought with you today?
Boy, excuse me. I have a lot of passions. I guess I would say, most people would think my main passion is probably things related to Magic the Gathering, which I think is mostly true. But I think my greatest non-Magic passion is consuming all things NBA. It's my favorite sport and has been for as long as I can remember.
You like to eat the jerseys, you like to eat the basketballs, you like to eat the food in the stadium.
I'll pass on the food in the stadium because it's always very expensive and generally overrated, and just frankly just not overrated is not even being truthful. It's just not good most of the time. So I love hoops. We're about to work ourselves in NBA playoff season, which is very exciting. It's a simple game, but it's also really complex and also really entertaining. So on my non-Magic passion is certainly the NBA.
When did you first really start to fall in love or even just get introduced to America's, in my opinion, best pastime in basketball?
I can't trace it back to a specific point. I've been watching it since I was very young with my dad. So, childhood memory. I 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't know. The biggest thing that stands out is when I was a kid. 2 memories around basketball. One, when I was a kid, I didn't get to stay up late or anything like that. But the one thing I got to stay up late for was when NBA was on. I guess it was TNT probably, either the TNT or TBS. But I'm going to guess TNT. When they used to have the double headers, I guess they still do, an East Coast game into a West Coast game. And the Sacramento Kings were terrible, but they were my favorite team besides the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they were my favorite team. And this is like the Mitch Richmond, Wayman Tisdale, NBA Jam version of the Sacramento Kings. And they only would get like 1 or 2 games on TNT a year because they were so bad. But Rich Richmond was my favorite player, and that was the one thing my dad would let me stay up for, is to watch a Kings game. I don't know if I ever made it all the way through because I was really young, but I would stay up for those. Maybe I'd make it through the first half or something like that. And then second, when I would watch basketball with my dad when I was young, I would have a notebook or a sheet of paper or something, and I would keep my own box scores, so points,
Hell
rebounds,
yeah.
all the other stuff for the players as I was watching the game. And then back in my day, because I'm old, you would get the newspaper in the morning, and it would have the West Coast scores in it along with the box score, and then I would compare and contrast how close I got to actually getting the box score correct.
How often did you get it correct?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember. I just know that was a thing that I really enjoyed doing, which was keeping like the statistics of a
so
basketball
awesome.
game.
Is that a common? So I grew up with my family pastime being baseball, and my dad would do the same thing. You know, go to a game, fill out the whole entire ledger of all the innings, all the bats, and yada yada. Was that kind of? I have never heard of people doing that in basketball. Is that a kind of common thing in basketball, or were you a trendsetter even then?
I don't think that was a common thing. I really can't say for sure. You know, basketball moves so quickly, especially nowadays, that it's pretty hard to keep that as a single person. I think that's my own personal opinion. I don't know. Maybe I could if I was doing it now. But being that young and trying to do it and not really knowing what I'm doing, I can't imagine I was particularly accurate with what I was doing. But I don't know. It was fun. I really liked doing it, and I really liked watching basketball with my dad. So that was a thing that I did.
So, as I understand it, you grew up in Cleveland, but found yourself loving the Sacramento Kings. How did that jive with your dad, who I presume was a Cavs fan?
I mean, no issues, no conflict, really. The Kings were really bad. I think I liked them because I think I liked the word Sacramento, and I think because I liked the jerseys and the colors. And, you know, I don't have any reason to identify or like Mitch Richmond when I was young. Maybe it's because he was a pretty good shooter, and that was before, you know, like shooting became ubiquitous like it is in the NBA now. But, you know, I've always been drawn to people who can shoot threes really well and just are really good shooters in general. So, you know, Steph Curry and players of his ilk. Caitlin Clark, I'm going to be watching later today. Like, I really like people who can shoot really well.
So, if you're saying that, you know, the Sacramento Kings are bad, do you think if they were good, if they were rivals with Cleveland, if your dad would have maybe sat you down, had the talk, or kind of, you know, given you the side eye, or would he have been like, whatever, my son's allowed to make his own decisions?
I think it would have been a lot more of the latter, since that's how my dad has treated me basically my entire life.
Well, now as I understand it, you have kind of come back to the land, to the area that your father loves in regards to which basketball team you're about. When did you switch from loving Sacramento to going back and loving Cleveland?
I wouldn't really say there was ever a switch. I definitely root for multiple teams at once. Like, Cleveland is always number one for me, and was when I was growing up, regardless of anything. So, you know, when I was growing up, the Cavs were pretty bad. You know, actually, they were quite bad. Pretty bad is kind of underselling it a little bit. But when I was growing up, they were quite bad until they drafted LeBron while I was in high school. So, you know, I always have liked the Cavs, and always will, and I like all the Cleveland sports teams. They always come first and foremost. So Cavs, Guardians, and Browns. But then, you know, I always have kind of an ancillary team that I really like, depending on kind of what's going on. So in the 2000s, early 2000s, the Sacramento Kings, Chris Webber, Vlade Divac, Mike Bibby, Peja Stojakovic, like that roster was like my favorite team when I was in middle school and high school. And in the last decade, like in the middle of the 2010s, my favorite non-Cavs team were the Warriors. When Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Splash Brothers and the rest of that team were becoming one of the best NBA teams of all time. Pre-Durant, I would say that was like basically my favorite non-Cavs team. Nowadays, I watch way too much basketball, but I generally like watching a high percentage of the teams. Pretty big fan of the Minnesota Timberwolves, among a couple of others this season outside of the Cavs. So, yeah, I'm just a general basketball enjoyer. There was never been like oh, I'm back to being a Cavs fan now again. It's always just been, I really enjoy the game of basketball because it's played in a lot of different ways by a lot of different people.
Hell yeah. So as time has gone on, do you still do what you did as a kid and try to, you know, when watching a game, kind of keep the minutes, as it were?
No, I don't do any of that now. I'm way too busy to even attempt to do something like that. Now I just, you know, I watch 2 or 3 games a night, or, you know, I check the box scores every night and kind of see what's going on. I check the standings every night. And I used to make videos of me breaking down basketball games kind of early in the season before Life gets really busy for me in like November and December and stuff like that. So I still watch the game a lot. I still enjoy the game a lot, but anything resembling keeping a box score now, yeah, that's not going to happen. And also, just we have the internet now. There's no reason for me to do it.
When do you think the last time was that you kept a box score?
I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. I have no idea.
Oh, you stopped pretty early on.
Yeah.
What was the next kind of transition once you're like, all right, look, I can just look in the newspaper the next morning. I got homework to do. I got maybe Magic to play. What was the next transition for you in the way you ingested the game? Was it just kind of casual watching, or?
Yeah, it was just kind of casual watching. Nothing crazy. Just when I got into high school, like middle school, high school, obviously a lot of different things take over in your life of just trying to figure out who you're going to be as a person, stuff like that. But I never had any interest in playing basketball. I just always had an interest in watching basketball, and so I would say that I watched it a decent amount in my adolescence. Not nearly as much as I do now, but yeah, there was no like clear transition point or anything there.
Did you ever try and play basketball growing up? Was that, or were you dead on arrival and be like, nah, I just, sitting on this couch is so much more fun? Or did you like try to get out there and be like, oh no?
I mean, played with friends at the local park occasionally, but other than that, I like again never really had a lot of interest in actually playing the game. Just had interest in watching it and consuming it.
So we're going into high school, still just a very ferocious fan watching the game. When do you think you went to your first NBA game?
Probably at some point in high school, I probably went to a Cavs game with my dad. Don't know
Back
exactly.
when the tickets were affordable.
Yeah, don't know exactly when or where or anything like that. Maybe there was a time when the Cavs were bad, before they were downtown and they were in the suburbs of Cleveland that I went to a game. But I don't have a clear recollection or memory or anything like that of like this is my first basketball game.
When you started going to live games, was that just a clear upgrade to watching it at home with dad and friends, or was it just so different that they weren't comparable?
I don't like going to live basketball games. The viewing experience is, in my opinion, worse. I like watching games on television. I think the viewing experience and just the experience in general they provide there is very good. Announcers are all very good. Angles are very good. Being able to keep up and being able to rewind and fast forward and stuff like that. If you're watching on delay or TiVo or something like that, is just way better for me than going to a game and watching it in person. Even if I've been on the floor and stuff like that, I just prefer to watch it on TV.
Right on. A lot of people and a lot of teams have these kind of larger than life announcers and commentators. Are there any either for your team or for other teams that you've gravitated towards listening to over the years?
I mean, best announcer in basketball is Mike Breen, who does Knicks games and also does like national television games and has called the finals for at least 20 straight years. So he's number one by a lot. Ian Eagle's very good at what he does. Brian Rucco for ESPN is quite good. There are some local broadcasters who are pretty good as well. Joel Myers for the Pelicans is really good alongside Antonio Daniels. I like the Warriors broadcast where a lot of people don't. I like Bob Fitzgerald and Clint Asabuki, where again a lot of people don't. Miami Heat's broadcast is pretty good. The Cavs broadcast is just okay. So it just kind of depends on what you like and dislike. But I mean, there's a lot of things to choose from. But the national teams for ESPN and ABC and TNT, they're all very very good.
When was it that you placed your first bet on a basketball game?
Sometime in my early 20s when I was in college.
Did that change the experience? Like upgrade it, deviate it in any way, or was it just kind of cherry on top situation?
It's just kind of a thing that I do. It definitely doesn't upgrade the experience to me. Like I'm not someone who needs to watch sports and have action on it for me to enjoy it. I know there are people that are like that. That's never been me. I can watch a million basketball games in a row and not have any action on it and be totally fine. It just so happens to be that like I know a lot about basketball. I can be profitable when betting on basketball if it's like my main focus. So I can't say it upgraded or downgraded the experience. I would just say it's an ancillary part of the experience.
Is that something that you look to kind of not upgrade, but integrate more into your viewing experience? Like, is that something like you're saying it's profitable when you have the time? Is that something you look towards as being I don't want to say a job, but a source of financial ingress?
No, not in any meaningful way. Uh, it's a slight hobby that again I kind of like doing occasionally. It kind of ebbs and flows on if I want to do it and when I want to do it. I would never treat it as a job, especially with how gambling has been legalized in the states and all the problems that are wrong with it, of which there are many. So it's just kind of a fun side activity to do.
If gambling was legalized in a way that was less of a kind of moral issue for you, or like it had less problematic ramifications in our society, would that be more likely to occur, or just still the same?
Still the same. Also, that's never going to change.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. What would you say your dream involvement with basketball, if you could write the script to your own life and your own future, what would your dream involvement with basketball be?
Probably a talking head on ESPN. Something that's like Bill Simmons adjacent, or just Ryan Russillo adjacent, just someone who talks about the NBA in a meaningful way that people listen to. And you can agree or disagree with me on things if you want to, but just having a large platform to get my opinion across on my thoughts on what's going on in the NBA. That's really about it.
Is that something that you're currently pursuing, or
Not even a little bit.
Is it a matter of time or a matter of like likelihood yield upon your interest?
I just have other things going on in life, and to step in that direction would be taking a huge risk. It's something that everyone thinks they can do, everyone wants to do, and the chances of doing that are extremely low as far as being successful at that sort of thing is concerned, because it's a very niche space, excuse me. But it's also just a space that everyone wants to be in. For the people who are passionate about it, of which there are many people. So I'd rather just focus on other things, which is what I'm doing.
All right. Well, let's say somehow you do write the script to your own future. If you were going to be a talking head, who would you want to be, like on your left and on your right?
I would love to discuss things with Zach Lowe and Kevin Arnovitz.
Why them over any others?
Zach, I mean, they're both incredibly smart when it comes to basketball. Zach is still doing what he's doing for ESPN. Kevin Arnovitz is no longer working for ESPN anymore, but I very much enjoyed his approach and looks to basketball. He's no longer really in the industry in any meaningful way. He's decided to do other things with his life, but I always enjoyed each of their content individually and also when they came together. So I would love to be a third member of that group.
How many hours a week during like basketball season do you think you are either watching, reviewing, looking at notes about, listening to interviews, listening to podcasts about the NBA?
I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 hours a day.
Damn. So earlier you talked about how the reason that you got interested in Sacramento was either one player in particular or potentially just the name of the city in Sacramento. If it is, and I hope it is likely the latter, what other players to this day are kind of ones that have drawn you to watching one team or another, irrelevant of era?
So like my favorite people to watch play basketball, Steph Curry's at the very top of the list. For Golden State, I really like watching Klay Thompson play basketball, also Golden State. Really like watching LeBron play basketball, regardless of what team he's on. Obviously, he played for Cleveland for a while, but still enjoyable watching him play for the Lakers now or the Heat back then. I really like watching Luka Doncic play basketball for the Mavericks. Kevin Love when he was on the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, who is now currently on the Timberwolves. I really liked watching Monta Ellis play basketball when he was on Golden State and Milwaukee. I really liked watching Steve Nash play basketball when he was on Dallas and Phoenix. So, I mean, there's a pretty long list of people who I just generally like watched play basketball and enjoyed watching play basketball.
On the flip reverse, who would you say is your kryptonite when it comes to watching basketball? Is there anybody that you see either on the bench, on the floor, that you're just like, fuck me, and you just like change the channel? You're just like, they're going to kind of poison the well for you.
I do not enjoy watching James Harden play basketball very much at all. I never enjoyed watching Carmelo Anthony play basketball. And excuse me, I never enjoyed watching Dwight Howard play basketball.
Is that because the style they play, their extracurriculars? What is it about them? Because I mean, all the people you just noted are respectively considered all-stars of the sport, depending upon who you talk to.
I mean, those are all going to be NBA Hall of Famers, not close. I never enjoyed the way that Harden played in isolation. I never enjoyed Carmelo Anthony's shot selection, and I just never really enjoyed watching Dwight Howard play ever. Even though like he's multiple time Defensive Player of the Year. His offense was not particularly enjoyable to watch because he's a really bad post player. But he was very good for his peak in the NBA. So I can't pretend that he wasn't an elite basketball player. And again, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, probably first ballot when he becomes made available to be voted upon. So just not my cup of tea.
So akin to, so it would be similar to, like, for instance, me not liking Modern Times or some other like lauded Hollywood classic just because it's not, it's not my preferred shade of blue or not my, favorite shade of pink. It's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
a
different
preferential
strokes.
thing. Yeah, there's
Diff-
no like, it's not like the way they handle themselves off the court or like what they say. It's just like the way they play basketball is not to your preference.
yeah, different strokes for different folks.
Has somebody's extracurriculars ever tarnished or changed the way you looked at them, or are you strictly a what happens on the court is all I care about?
I'm mostly what happens on the court is really all I care about type of person. I'm really good at compartmentalization, and when I'm watching basketball, I just care to see what's going on the court.
So in a similar way, you talked about LeBron, you're from Cleveland. If I can broach the subject, like coming how did his playing there, leaving, and then coming back sit with you?
Uh, I mean, I've enjoyed both of his stretches in Cleveland. I did not enjoy when he left; it made me very angry. It was one of my least favorite days. But looking back at things now as an adult, I mostly understand the reason he made the decision that he made. It was super cool when he came back. I remember the day the announcement came out where I was, which was awesome. I'm glad he was able to bring a championship to the city. And again, him leaving again to go to Los Angeles, I completely understand. So as a much older and wiser individual now at this stage of my life, I understand the decision process he made both times he decided to go somewhere else to do something else.
Was his leaving the second time less painful, or was it because like the first time around you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe that he's doing this, what the fuck? And then the second time was like, all right, I've heard this song before.
I mean, it's completely different situations between the first time and the second time. So the second time, I think everybody knew he was going to leave. He in 2018 he gave the team everything he could possibly give on what was a rather flawed roster, and we got swept by the Warriors in the finals as we should have. And then he decided to go to Los Angeles, which is his right to do as an adult in the world. So there's no anything. Just cool tenure. Thanks for the 4 years. Thanks for the championship. Have fun in Los Angeles.
So in movies and TV, this is one of those sports that is often showcased. In your estimation, from the films you've seen, which ones portray it best and which ones portray it worst?
The game of basketball.
The game of basketball.
Love and Basketball is a really good portrayal.
What is it that they do right?
Just kind of love the game and how it kind of consumes your life. I think also Hustle did a really nice job of that. The Adam Sandler movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
And the Ben Affleck movie that came out right at the early stages of the pandemic, which I can't think of, where he's a high school basketball coach. I'm trying to remember the name of this, which is going to bother me. So I can find it.
The Way Back.
Yeah, that movie I think is very good. I think those are pretty good portrayals and different portrayals of the game of basketball and how they impact one's life.
What were some of the ones that you've watched over the years that you just like roll your eyes, groan, or even turn off because it's just they're getting it wrong?
Nothing comes off the top of my head in that regard of something that has done a poor job of articulating visually what basketball is attempting to be. I'm sure there are plenty of bad basketball movies, but nothing off the top of my head that I'm just like, yeah, that movie was a horrible portrayal of what being a basketball player is or what the game of basketball is.
What's the biggest misconception you've run into when you say that you're like an NBA fan in casual conversations, meeting a new friend, out on a date, or even talking to certain family members that don't get it?
Biggest misconception is that Just a lot of people don't understand the game on the same level that I do, which is fine because I'm an NBA junkie who watches a lot of basketball.
What
But
do they get wrong?
just like what they think about how what a player does well, what a player doesn't do well, how easy it is to score, how easy it is to play defense. I mean, just generally everything. A casual basketball fan doesn't know anything about basketball, or they know very little about basketball. The game of basketball is on a very high level is incredibly complex, is incredibly difficult, and most people just kind of watch, and that's fine. I mean, they're casual fans or people who are not nearly as invested in the game as I am. So I that would be my expectation is they generally don't have any idea what they're talking about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just what they see to the naked eye as they watch a game of basketball on a random Wednesday or Thursday evening is not what I see and what I'm watching.
So when you went as a young kid from casual fan to, just almost like a cultist to the NBA, what were some of the things that you saw or remember changing for you? What were like some of the lessons that maybe your dad was like, you're like, that guy sucks. And your dad's just like, nah, you don't get it. And just kind of read you the Bible.
I mean, the first thing is if you're watching the game of basketball and watching, if you're watching the game of basketball and watching the ball, I mean that's the first mistake because a lot of the action happens off the ball. So whenever I'm watching the game of basketball, I rarely am watching the person who actually has the ball unless it's a possession in isolation. I'm watching what the players are doing around the person who has the ball, how they're moving, how they're cutting, screens that are being set up, what the play is. You know, if it's a horns action, if it's a back screen, a bunch of stuff like that. So just a lot of play calling and a lot of NBA vernacular that I'm not going to get into in this podcast because most people aren't going to have any idea what the hell I'm talking about. You can learn more about this if you listen to or watch JJ Redick and LeBron's podcast, Mind the Game. That's a pretty good introduction. It's a high level introduction into advanced basketball concepts. So for me, it was just deciding I wanted to learn about this stuff and like watch this stuff, read about this stuff, learn about this stuff. What's going on the court, what's going on off the court as far as salary caps are concerned, you know, player movement, free agency transactions, all that stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot to it.
So you just touched on a great subject that I'm always curious of. In many passions, there are secrets and terms that are only used in that, venue. What is one of your favorite kind of lexiconal phrases that is only used in basketball that most people are just flabbergasted by and don't understand the meaning of?
Um, that's a that's a hard question to answer. Um,
Well, that's what we do here on the podcast, Cedric. We ask the tough hitting questions.
I mean, most people don't know what a horn set is. Most people don't know what effective field goal percentage is. Most people don't know what true shooting percentage is.
So what
So,
the first one? Break it down as someone who is very much
I mean, I'm not
ball,
doing that.
you know.
No,
All right,
go Google it. I'm not
try.
here to break down videotape for people.
Horn set. Look it up at home. Lord knows I will. So, as someone growing up as a Cleveland fan, I think it's fair to guess that your, highlight reel moment as a basketball fan was probably LeBron winning in Cleveland. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
What is the silver medal moment for you in basketball for your viewing career?
Silver medal moment is the Cavs winning Game 6 in Cleveland in 2016 to lead to Game 7 against the Warriors that they won in 2016.
Nice. So on the on the flip reverse of the prior big question, what would you say is your favorite non-obvious aspect that people don't get to see the joy that it brings you, that people would never even think to ask or even notice that it brings you so much joy?
Um, like outside of basketball, I guess, just in life.
No. Within being a basketball like diehard, what is something that people don't realize is like a kind of, if I was explaining a job to somebody, the first thing that they're obviously going to notice is the money, but there is like a side benefit of, hey, you get, access to these amenities, and that they wouldn't know about them because they don't work at the occupation I do. So, kind of metaphorically, as a basketball fan, what are the things that people don't realize you get, that you enjoy
Oh,
from
I mean,
that space?
I just like watching teams and players get better. That's all. Um, that's one of the major things I enjoy about it is just you get to see the progress of people who work hard and just get better at the game over time. So from the rookie season to, the third or fourth year, you're going to see some notable changes and improvement, ideally. And watching players go from good to great, which is a very hard thing to do, is a lot of fun.
Who are some of the ones that make that marquee of like of biggest growth? Not necessarily the best play. They didn't turn into, an all-star necessarily, or maybe they did, but you saw them start and you saw them evolve and keep hitting the gym, keep showing up to practice, keep, their head in a book and get better. Who are some of the ones that, make that for you?
Well, seeing Steph Curry go from when he entered the league as into what he is at now, which is one of the best 15 people to ever play basketball, is pretty awesome. Seeing Anthony Edwards' growth over the past 4 seasons has been a lot of fun. From just kind of a total project who is obviously athletically gifted and could do a lot of things in the court to his ability to pass now, his decision making, which is still not perfect, but is getting better every game and every season. Has been a lot of fun. Those are the two that stand out the most to me, both in like a holistic sense, as someone like a Curry who's been playing for a really long time, and Edwards who's not been playing that long, who is getting better very quickly.
All right. Well, to go from your yum to your yuck, CEDRIC, what is your preposterous peeve?
Let's see. It drives me crazy when people are pretty poor drivers and aren't paying attention while they're driving, because I find driving to be pretty easy. Um, and it's also something that I think people don't take seriously enough. There's way too many people who text and drive and just don't know how to drive really well, and can frankly kill someone if they're not paying attention, and just not taking the responsibility as importantly as I feel like most people should be. So, yeah, bad drivers, poor drivers, that sort of thing is relatively frustrating.
What is the time where this stood out the most to you and like caused you the most, like brought the worst out of you? Did you ever get to a point where you got out of your car and just, gave somebody a piece of your mind, or shouted maybe louder than you ever had while at a stoplight because of the person next to you or the person who had gone before's decisions?
No, I mean, I don't really get that upset about anything in life. It's just generally pretty frustrating when people are just kind of bad at a thing that they, I mean, not everyone drives, obviously, but for the people who drive with something resembling regularity, to be bad at something that you do regularly is always kind of a weird thing to me, especially when there is a real responsibility behind it, insofar as, again, like if you're a bad driver or if you're texting and driving, which, we see all these signs nowadays and all these announcements and commercials of please don't text and drive, people still do, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's I don't have a actual example, like I've been rear-ended before and stuff like that, which is like kind of annoying when someone just sucks shit at what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like an example of like a time when like I lost my mind because of someone driving.
You keep referring to driving being not that difficult, being pretty easy. What do you think the easiest thing about driving is that people get the most wrong?
Paying attention.
Eyes on the road?
Yeah. Just pay attention to what you're doing.
All right. Well, lastly, before we throw it to a commercial break, if you could have listeners of this podcast hear one song of your choosing, which would it be?
Most recently I guess that was a little while ago, the month of December. That was a handful of months ago now. I found a band on Spotify called the Friday Pilots Club, who just has like a bunch of one-off songs. They don't have like a real album or anything like that, but I found them via Spotify Discover, and my favorite song by them that I have found is a song called Hot Mess. So that would be the one that I would choose if I was to introduce anyone to this band.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to throw it to our sponsors, so CEDRIC can have a minute or two to put on this here rubber suit before we get all up in the lightning round. But if advertisements aren't your thing, why not have a listen to Hot Mess by Friday Pilots Club? Or if you really wanted to hear a song from a previous episode, check out the playlist on Spotify, Passionate People and Preposterous Peeve Podcast, Song Rex. It's a long title, I know. Don't worry, there's a link in the description. By the way, see you in a bit. Do you ever find yourself doing a mundane activity with nothing to keep you from gouging your eyes out or sticking a pencil through one ear and out the other? Uh-huh. Well, then perhaps I could introduce you to music. Music comes in a variety of different types, flavors, and colors. Theorists say that it's the best thing to introduce to your life since food. So go out get some, and make your life just a little bit more bearable. And we're back. Cedric, are you ready to enter lightning round?
The lightning round.
I'm as ready as I ever will be, which is sort of.
All right, buckle your seatbelts and keep your arms inside the ride at all times. Do people who prefer Pepsi to Coke deserve human rights?
Good first question. My answer to that is no, but they both shouldn't because both drinks are disgusting and terrible for you.
Do you create your own thoughts or do you just listen to them?
I create my own thoughts.
Would you rather meet an alien or a ghost?
I would rather meet an alien.
Is there a price for you to give up your passion forever?
Yeah, because everyone has a price. $1 Million Man.
You're having the best day of your life. What happens next? Another amazing thing or something terrible?
Preferably another amazing thing.
Is peeing in the shower normal human behavior or just for those filthy mer people?
It's behavior of a psychopath.
Are you being the person Mr. Rogers knew you could be?
I don't know because I never watched Mr. Rogers. Yeah.
Do you think society as we know it will collapse within the next 150 years?
I find that rather unlikely. It's already, I mean, we're already pretty fucked anyway, so I mean, it could get worse, but I don't think a full blown collapse is going to happen.
Album, shuffle, or playlist?
Playlist on shuffle.
Is there such a thing as a perfect piece of art?
No, perfect doesn't exist.
Are hot dogs tacos?
No, hot dogs are hot dogs.
Is professional wrestling cool or lame?
Professional wrestling is one of the best sources of entertainment on the planet.
Which is realer, mermaids or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
Are you out of touch or is it the children who are wrong?
That's the boy. It's the children that are wrong.
Did you ever cheat on a test in school?
I cheated on a lot of tests in college. It's the only way that I got to my super senior year is I was very, very, very adept at cheating. Did not cheat in high school or below. Cheated infinite in college because I didn't want to be there.
Would you rather, in a public setting, dance naked in the snow or walk over hot coals?
I'd do either, but hot coals, I guess.
Would you rather save 100 strangers or one loved one?
One loved one.
Skydiving or deep sea diving?
Skydiving.
Would you rather have tentacle arms or kangaroo legs?
What is kangaroo legs in this instance?
Boing, boing, boing.
Oh, okay. Kangaroo legs, I guess.
Split the prize or play for it all?
Play for it all, always. No splits ever.
Make the food or do the dishes?
I mean, both, but make the food.
And lastly, could you eat 37 of your favorite food for $5,000 in a 1 hour time limit?
How many?
37.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the spirit of the question. So, like, could I eat 37 pieces of spaghetti? Yeah, I could. I did earlier. I did earlier today. So, yes, but I don't think that's what you're asking me.
All right, the $5,000 is in the mail.
Okay, cool.
Now, as a reward, my gallant guest, I grant thee a lightning question of your own to be echoed until the ends of time. What you got for us?
Is there a better cookie than the chocolate chip cookie?
Objectively, no. Personally, yes.
Okay, well, that means you have to say what your favorite cookie is then.
This is sacrilegious to most, but I love a good oatmeal raisin.
Yep, that's not a good answer. Okay. We agree.
All right, what's your answer to said question?
No, chocolate chip cookie is the best cookie on earth. A lot of people don't make.
What
A
about
lot
if
of people
there's
don't make it well.
if
But
there are modifications to it, does that raise or lower it? Is it perfect because of its simplicity?
yes, I am
Okay.
a traditionalist and a simplest. I don't think that's a word, but it is now. Simplest. That feels like it might be a word. I
I was coming up.
prefer.
What's the people that like to have nothing in their house?
Uh,
Minimalist.
yeah, but that doesn't feel right in this instance. Maybe it is. Maybe minimalist. God, I speak for a living. I can't say that. Minimalist is the term I'm looking for. I like very simple desserts. So, chocolate chip cookie, Rice Krispie treat, brownie with ice cream. Just like the simple things are the things I enjoy. Anything that's like overdone.
I
is
presume
not
when you
for
say
me.
brownie, you mean it has nothing but just chocolate.
Yeah, I
No
don't need
nuts,
anything in
no
it. Yeah,
coconuts.
yeah, no,
Oh,
not none of that is necessary. So, yeah, I like the chocolate chip cookie because it's an extremely simple dessert, and when made well, it is fantastic.
All right, as we come to a close here, my friend, anything you want to plug, shout outs you'd like to give, places people can find you or your content?
I can be found on Twitter mostly at Cedric A. Phillips. That's my name on everything, but Twitter is by far the medium that I use the most, which is not that often. Uh, you can like and subscribe at youtube.com/the receivables, which is a show that I make alongside my longtime friend Patrick Sullivan.
And past
Uh,
guest.
yes, this is true.
Self promotion.
There you go. Let's see what else we have here. If you like Magic the Gathering inspired apparel, you can go over to Coalesce Apparel Design and buy some shirts, stickers, hoodies, play mats, hats, other things over there. If you're a Magic the Gathering fan and want to find some cool stuff over there that me and my team make. And I think that's kind of the long and the short of it. I'm not a really big guy on self promotion, but that's the shilling that I'm happy to do for today.
Well, thank you for shilling and thank you for coming on, Ted.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Cedric, for being my guest today, and special thanks to my editor, Richard Ashford, and my composer, Joshua Gibbons. And you, you, listening at home or wherever you find time to appreciate this. Time really is the most precious commodity we have, and I really appreciate you spending yours with us. And if you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe, like, or just share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. Or if you already have and are out of episodes to listen to, don't worry. We put out a new episode every Monday at midnight on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes at Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And a very special thanks are due to our patrons, Sibel Yellow. If you'd like to join said illustrious ranks and have your name read aloud, just head over to patreon.com/Passionate People and Preposterous Peeves Podcast. And do remember, folks, if days are numbered and songs are sung, at the end of the day, I think we've all won. So please stick around, because great things have only just begun. Oh, and sorry, I should have included this in the intro, but here we are now. There will be no episode next week. There has been some scheduling conflicts and issues, and with me preparing for the Pro Tour, it's just didn't happen. There hopefully and should be one next week, assuming nothing else falls through. But, stay tuned and keep subscribed and just keep tabs on Twitter where I post things regularly. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great one, folks.